At the recently concluded inaugural investment conference hosted by President Cyril Ramaphosa in Sandton. The council believes that the commitments, once converted into live investment, will go a long way towards the realization of the creation of 275,000 jobs. For more, we're joined on the line by Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa, the CEO of the Tourism Business Council of South Africa. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on your program.
Well, President Cyril Ramaphosa concluded the inaugural investment summit on Friday last week. What impact do you think this will have on the South African economy?
We definitely think that this is going to go a long way, given what has happened in the past. And if we look into the future, these kinds of investments shows that, the international markets, as well as the domestic markets, have full confidence of the president. And that's why they are willing to, restart the investment process and putting, this 294 billion plus many more that are going to come into the South African economy. We think that this is positive. It's going to yield, some good results in a short and long term. And we do believe that, it will go a long way in creating jobs.
It was announced on Tuesday that the South African unemployment rate increased to 27.5% in the third quarter. What impact do you think the commitments made by different stakeholders at the conference last week will have on reducing this number?
I think that, when you have these kinds of investments coming into the country and the big projects that have been announced in terms of, other companies announced that they're going to manufacture certain things in certain provinces, I think when you start to have those big, projects starting to run, you're going to see that, local people, wherever those projects are going to start to have jobs within those projects. And also there will be an indirect benefit. People will be, distributors, they will provide transport and so forth and so on. And of course, for tourism businesses, we will see a whole lot of, SMMEs, coming through, from accommodation establishments where those projects have been run, to shuttle companies, to many other, products that are within the value chain that are to support these kinds of projects. People will travel back and forth. Meetings will be held, to decide these kinds of projects, and conferences will be held. And that's what impacts tourism greatly when it comes to that. So we think that, it will have a dent on the unemployment rate. Of course, 27.5%, it's quite high. And as a tourism industry, we know that from our point of view, as an industry that employs a large number of people, we know that, this will go a long way in reducing that 27.5%. And I think it's a mission that, majority of, if not all of the industries within South Africa are working towards to ensure that, we see this number going down. We don't want this to be a catastrophe in the future.
Well, now, can you give us an indication of the number of jobs the tourism industry has contributed to the GDP?
Currently, the tourism industry employs around 720, just over 720,000, direct employment. But indirectly, it's about 1.5 million. And it is the only industry, probably in this country that is poised for growth, that can employ more people, that can, that can get more entrepreneurs coming into the space. The barriers of entry are quite low. So it is one of those industries that is quite important, and that's why we've been saying to government that, take us seriously. We are a low-hanging fruit, and if we do the right things at the right time, we should be able to create more jobs within, the tourism industry. You will know that the value chain includes hospitality, it includes car rentals, hotels, and many, many, many more. So we are in a position of creating more jobs. If you look at, if you compare us with mining is about 450 plus, 1,000 jobs. Agriculture around 800 plus 1,000 jobs. So we are up high there, and we are poised to put a dent in this unemployment rate. So we are quite an important industry. We want to be more productive. We want to put more people to work. And there are just some few things that we're discussing with government. But if we remove these few things, we should be able to do more.
Well, certainly good news for the tourism sector. So let us talk about the president's remarks at the investment conference. What is the TBCSA's sentiment on these remarks?
Well, we think that his remarks were very positive. We think that, it will go, a long way in boosting the brand image of the country, within the international market and as well as in Africa. It will go a long way in making sure that the country is seen as an investment, capital within the African continent. it will be seen as, a tourism destination within the African continent. So we think that it goes a very, very long way. He said very beautiful words, about the country, which have very good attributes, to tourism, the beauty of the country, and, all these wonderful places and landscapes that we have. It goes a very long way in motivating people to travel to the country and as well as investing into the country. So those were very positive remarks, and we will, of course, as a council, encourage the president to be the champion of tourism, together with the Ministry of Tourism, to make sure that tourism occupy, the highest level of recognition within government.
Now, to what extent does tourism feature in attracting new investment in the country and globally?
I mean, it features very, very highly. Remember that tourism is dependent on, arrival numbers in terms of people that are coming from overseas and from Africa that are coming into South Africa, as well as domestic travel. Where us as South Africans travel, the rate of which we travel, our own country. Tourism businesses are dependent on demand. The more demand is created, the more hotels starts to come up. If you look at Cape Town, the number of new hotels that have been built in Cape Town, responding to the demands, for Cape Town products, have been very, very high. So we need to duplicate what we've done in Cape Town into other cities around South Africa, be it, in Durban and other secondary cities like, your Polokwane, your Bloemfontein, and many other cities around the country to be able to, to realize new investments. So we're very much dependent on the demand, from international markets. And right now our demand is low. We have been building pre-2010 Soccer World Cup. There are new hotels that came in. There are new hotels that were built after 2010. So now we're looking at another surge. So that's why we're saying that this investment, summit, this 294 billion rand that's coming into the economy will stimulate, once again, the investment into tourism products in the country.
Tshifhiwa, I know that South Africa is a wonderful tourism destination, and we've been focusing on the beauty of the country, but are you looking at cultural tourism and harnessing that as a sector of tourism to grow?
Absolutely. We're looking at cultural tourism, adventure tourism, to make sure that we grow those sectors. We want people to see further than just few places that they know about. We want people to experience cultures from the Tonga culture to, the Tswana culture, to be able to be immense, and experience, what that means. When we sell this country, we sell those things that, makes your, that gives you goosebumps. When you get into Soweto, the culture of Soweto, we are putting that on the map to say, it is a different place. We have different cultures, that are mixed within Soweto. If you go to Limpopo, this is what you're going to experience. If you go to Northwest, if you go to Northern Cape, and those are the things that we're putting out in the international, markets to say, we are rich in culture. You can come to South Africa 10 times and have 10 different experiences. And that's what we're putting into the international markets, as well as adventure tourism to say, we are the adventure capital of the world. There are various things that, tourists can do into the country. We beat many, many different countries that, call themselves, the adventure capital of the world in terms of the attractions that we have and the activities that we have. So we are certainly marketing those activities, and we're putting them in the international markets.
I hope that you're also marketing the South Africa as a movie location for international movies globally.
Absolutely. If you look at what has happened in the past few years, in terms of movies that were shot in South Africa, you will see that the movies have been increasing because, within the various provinces, there have been, dedicated agencies to market the locations in terms of movies coming in South Africa. Cape Town is one of those that have gotten, lots of movie scenes. And another thing that the films does is that, when people overseas watches what South Africa is like, they start to have that desire to come to South Africa. So it helps us a great deal in terms of, putting a positive brand image of the country out there.
Well, thank you very much indeed. That was Tshifhiwa Tshivhengwa, the CEO of the Tourism Business Council of South Africa. We're going to take a short break now. You can view any of our interviews and features by going to sabcnews.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter.